Hey, a quick video about the question on the group. This is basically a script on code blocks that lets you do something like this, which is be able to use this part then in Tinkercad, so you can mark every X amount of angles, whatever you want to do, right? Like Protractor. So let me start from scratch. The first thing I did is define a couple of variables. One of them is the radius of how far I want the markers, and also have some level of relationship between that radius and the size of the markers. And then two variables, one for the main separation of the angles and the other one the secondary one. So then I just created the first two boxes here are for making a little crossing in the center so we can mark the origin. So I'm just gonna run this step by step. So first the three variables, and then the first box, then the second box. Now I'm adding the third box, and the third box has a length of basically the radius. It is kind of a math control block here. The radius by 0.7, so it's just a little smaller than that, but it always keeps a relationship with the radius. So the next step, it's going to be to move it along that way, right here. There you go. I'm just going to rotate this so it looks like on the direction of the work plane and it's less confusing. There you go. Now what we need to do is a loop, right? So in this case, the loop, the times I repeat this is going to be a function of the angle, of the main angle. So it's 360 divided by main, which is the angle here. So that will be 30 degrees. I make a copy of the previous object. Copy always copies the last one, and then rotates around axis Z up by main, which is the angle, right? It's going to be doing it through all the increments of the angle that you defined, and the pivot is on 0, so it rotates with this as the rotation point. Then I did another box, the same but a little smaller, so size radius by 0.5, and then this one in particular has the same move. Then let me just play until then. So I have to go through all of these steps for the loop. I really like the step by step so you can see what you're doing. So in the next one, I create the next box, which is this one. It goes up, it's here, it's kind of over on top of the other one. Okay, I just did everything here. So, and basically this one divides by 360 divided by the secondary angle. I chose to not have to think about how to move and not create a box over this one because it's not a problem. But if you want to make it fancy, you can just figure out how to first make a rotation and then start doing the angles. For what the project needs to do, it's okay. So yeah, so there you go. So you have this, and then you create a group and you are done. Again, I'm going to play it all like this. Perfect. Now let me export this and make a part. So let's kind of an example, and I'll go to Tinkercad 3D editor. So 3D Science, create new design, and in here I will now go into, let's say that I have this surface, right? I need somewhere to put it on, right? And then if I go into parts, down here, parts collection, here is the one I just made. So I can just put it on the surface and define this as a whole and make the group. I'll just move this up so you see it well. There you go. Probably the marker in the center was too small, so I can always come back here and say, hey, I know this, I need this to be a little bigger, so I'm sure that it's gonna be cutting. And there you go. Okay, hope it helps.